Hello and welcome back to this class. So we're going to see how we can install Firebase and use one of the Firebase services, which is Firestore DB, on our mobile app to store informations in the cloud. So here is the project I just registered on Firebase. So what we need to do now is install. Once you create this project on Firebase console, what you need to do next is to install this SDK, which I have installed here. Good. Then what we need to do is, after installing the SDK, we copy this information here provided by Firebase. We copy it to our app. So we simply just create a file here known as, first we need to create a folder known as config within our project directory, and then inside of it we're going to create this file known as Firebase config. And then inside the Firebase config is where we are going to paste the SDK information that we copied from Firebase. Since we are going to be working with storage, not storage, with Firestore DB. So let me go back to Firebase now. I'll come to this project shortcuts and click on Firestore database. So when I click on Firestore database, it says I should create a database. So I'll click on it to create a database. We're going to do next on this screen. We select any place for our physical database, and then we start in production mode. So after setting all this up, while this is setting up, let's go back to our IDE. We're also going to import get Firestore from Firebase Firestore. Then here we are going to say constant db, which is database for short, will be equal to get Firestore, like this. Then we simply export. We're going to export this to objects. The first thing we want to export is app. Okay, we need to also patch in app here. Yes. So what we need to export is app and db, so that these two variables will be available anywhere within this application. So let's check back here. Good. I think we have successfully created our DB here, as you can see. So for us to be able to write information from our app, we need to go to rules and change this read or write to true. That means we want to be able to read and write from another location, such as our app. So when we do that, we hit a publish, and this solves it all. Good. So the next thing now, we configure it in our app. After following this step, the next thing we need to do is go to where we want to use it. So let me quickly start my development server here while that is working. Okay, while this is loading, so I want to get information from this screen here, which is about. I want to get the name, email, and review, and when I submit it, I want that information to appear in my Firebase history here. So how do we do that? We go to about where we want to perform that particular task. Then we're going to import a few things from Firebase. We're going to import DB from config. We're also going to import addoc. We're going to import addoc. We're also going to import collection. Okay. Good. Our bundler has finished loading, so I'm just going to patch it through the app again here. Okay, so I already have a form set up here with state management for each of the form. So what we need to do now is to write a function that will help us to save on database on our Firestore DB. So to do that, I'm going to say constant handle save, and this is going to be a callback function. It's also going to be an async function because we want this to run in the background. So this is going to be an async function here. Okay, so the next thing we have to do is, okay, I also need to declare, let's do a loading sign here so that we know when this information is working. So I'm going to say loading constant is loading, that's to show us if it's loading, and what set is loading, and this will be equal to use state, and the initial state will be false because we don't want to see the activity indicator except we have something that is loading. So here I'm going to set this loading to true because as we are trying to save an information on the database, we want to see this loading sign. And then I'll wrap every other thing in a try catch so that if there's an error, we catch it. So in this try, we are simply going to say constant docref, that's document reference, just the variable name, equal to, we await, what are we awaiting? We await add doc. That means we want to add a document to Firebase, we await add doc. Inside the add doc, we're going to call on collection, and inside the collection, we are going to locate DB and the DB name. So the DB name is just like the register name when you have a collection of registers. So which particular register are you looking for? The register that contains a particular information. So here I'm going to simply say user info. User info. That means I want to save the register name as what? The collection name rather as user info. And then here I'll pass in an object here. So this object will now contain the actual information I want to save, such as name, and I want to save it as name. And then email, I also want to save that as email. And then review, I want to also save that as review. Also, I want to create a new field known as created at, which is going to be a timestamp. So this will be new date dot get time. This will provide us with a timestamp. Okay. So after we have successfully patched this information here, we can come out here and set this loading to false. That means when we have successfully uploaded this user information to our DB, we don't want to see the loading indicator anymore. And if there's an error, also before we do that, we can alert the user that their information have been saved by using alert. So let me see if that imported alert. Good. Alert.alert. And then we are simply going to say success. simply say form submitted successfully. Okay, so in the case whereby there's an error, we simply want to do the same thing, alert dot alert, and then we can say error. We simply say an error occurred submitting form. While submitting form, while submitting form. Okay, so let me quickly indent this code to make it look clean. Good. So that's that. The next thing we have to do now is hook this function to our touchable opacity. So we simply go to where we have submit here. In this touchable opacity, we call the on press. Then we patch in the function, which is what? Handle save. So let us try the form and see if we're on track. Let me reload this. Okay, so let's fill this form now. Name Michael, email mike at gmail.com, review, I love coding. So if I hit this submit, we should, okay, before we hit submit, let's put an activity indicator here so that we know when we're actually trying to submit this form. So this text, I'm going to highlight this text and then wrap it around an object, which is a JavaScript interpolation. Then I'll simply say it's loading. That means when it's loading, I want you to do what? Show me something, which is what? An activity indicator from React Native. Activity indicator is self-closing, or show me the text. So here I'm going to say I want the size to be 25 and I want the color to be red. Okay, so let me refresh again and then we can attempt to submit that form and see if the result gets to our database. So again, I'll fill the form. Name is Mike. Email is mike at gmail.com. Then review, I love coding. Then hit submit. Oh, red. Shouldn't use red there. But it says form submitted successfully. That was good. But red will not work because that background is red. So let's change this to white and then try again. White. So let's just quickly fill the form again, this time with different information. Name is what? Daniel John. And then email will be what? Danny at gmail.com. Then this will be I love programming. So we see the activity indicator. And it still says what? Form successfully submitted. Okay, so let's go and check our DB. If we find the information there, that means we are on track. Okay, so by the time this database loads, we should be able to see that two form that we submitted in our collection history. All right, that's right. We have a collection called user info here, and then this is the collection ID, and we see that information here for Mike, and the second information for Daniel. So yes, that's how we can set up Firestore DB in our application to save information in the cloud. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next class.